Okay, so here we go. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll be talking all about podcasts. So you may have listened to podcasts before, or this may be an introduction to you about what podcasts are. So I'm just going to start at the very basics and then we'll proceed. So podcasts are essentially like a radio program. The good thing about them is they're online, so you can listen to them whenever you want. And there's a variety of podcasts. There are, stories, there are news, there's some that are inspirational. And at the end, I'll go over some popular podcasts and some that I recommend. But just know that there are lots to choose from, and you can choose by category, or you can choose by, which podcasts are most popular. So those are good ways to get started. So I explained kind of why they are popular. They're easy to access. You can listen to them whenever you want. You can listen to them from your phone or a laptop or a tablet. So it's great because we all have our phones with us now, so we can listen to them wherever we are. In fact, a lot of people listen to podcasts while they're doing something else. For me, I always listen to podcasts in my car during my commute when I'm driving around. It's a good place to listen to it. I think a lot of people listen to podcasts in their car, it seems like. So how do you listen to podcasts? Podcasts are played through apps. So if you have a smartphone, you're used to different apps, and you can download an app from the App Store. So if you have an Android device, that's the Google Play Store. If you have an iPhone, it's the, what is that called? Whatever the iPhone one is called. I don't have an iPhone.
Yeah.
But the iPhones actually have a podcast app already installed on it, so you don't even have to search for a new one. Apple Podcasts is the name of that app. And then if you have an Android phone, you can go to the Google Play Store and download an app. The one that I'll be showing today is called Spotify, but there's a number of different apps. In fact, if you go to the Play Store and search podcasts, I'm sure lots of different apps will come up. Some popular ones are Spotify, as I mentioned, Stitcher, and Podcast Addict is another one. And then once you download that app, you'll just have to get used to navigating it to find what you want. So, before we go any further, I forgot to share this little video. I'm going to share this video with you.
In the last 15 years, podcasts have gone from mainly a niche market to mainstream. There's a world of info and entertainment for people of all interests, so listen up. We have Podcast 101 on the lowdown.
There are over 500,000 podcasts in existence, but that doesn't mean we all know what they are.
A podcast is simply a piece of audio, a story or an interview or a documentary series that you can download and listen to whenever you want.
Chris Bannon, Chief Content Officer at Stitcher, a podcast app, is here with a lesson on podcasts. First, where did they come from?
Podcasting has been around for more than a decade, but I would say that it became really, really popular. It exploded in 2014 with the publication of a series called Serial.
I definitely understand that someone could look at this and say, oh man, he must be lying. It's so coincidental.
And since then, there's now something for everyone, from shows about true crime to news.
From the New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily.
And from comedy to fantasy.
What's this one's name? Logan. But he goes by another name as well. Wolverine.
Today, as many as 100 million people are listening each month, to the 18.5 million available episodes from the 700,000 podcasts out there. But unlike AM/FM radio, podcasts play through apps. So here's how to tune in.
Stitcher has built the first widely available Android app. So if Apple has an app that's built into the iPhone, Spotify is getting into the podcasting business in a big way.
You can listen on your smart device through the app or on a computer from the website.
If you click that little subscribe button, it will make sure to feed you new episodes of the show.
Which leads us to the third part of the lesson. What are some of today's fan favorites?
Right now, I think there's never been more variety in what's popular in podcasting. Dirty John is a series that came out a couple of years ago.
Whether to intimidate people or to impress them with his dark glamour, he bragged frequently about his underworld ties.
This true crime podcast is also a hit series on Bravo.
I'm John.
People like Conan O'Brien, the TV talk show host and comedian, have gotten into podcasting in a big way.
Conan tends to pop his peas every time he says podcast.
Podcast. This makes the engineer crazy.
Oprah, Dr. Phil.
The hardest part is choosing where to start. That's today's lesson in Podcast 101 on The Lowdown.
Okay. So I thought that video presented podcasts nicely. And you'll notice with podcasts, they come out in series. So depending on the podcast, there might be one every day. For instance, The Daily is a New York Times podcast that covers a news story each day. So that's a new one each day. They might come out once a week or once a month if they're more in-depth ones. And once you subscribe to one, like the video said, it'll feed you the new episode. So I will show you Spotify. This is actually the Spotify web player, but it's very similar to how the app is laid out on your phone. So I'll just go home. So at the top, these are apps or podcasts that I listen to frequently, which is why they're displayed here. It's trying to make it easy to access the ones that you listen to a lot. So you can also see my top shows here, which are more podcasts. And then it'll give you suggestions based on what you've listened to before. And it'll show you ones that you've played recently. And to start out, a good way would be to go to the search feature. If you know the specific name of a podcast you're looking for, you can type it in the search bar here. You can also just browse. So we'll go to browse, click on podcasts. Scroll down to categories. So this will list top podcasts by genre. Let's see. Click see all and scroll down. I'm expecting to see different genres, but this is just a list of different podcasts. Interesting.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So what if so now you're searching and you see something based on whatever the title or whatever, you say, I might like it, but rather than going through the whole subscribing, is there a way of like getting a trailer of it or something just to make sure that you really want it as opposed and having it?
Yeah, you can listen to anyone without subscribing.
Okay.
There isn't really a trailer.
I'm using that as a term, just
right.
A way of getting a snapshot of it.
Right. Good question. I don't think so, but do an example here to show you the playback features. So SmartList is a podcast that I listen to sometimes, and it's 3 different actors, and they interview usually a celebrity. but they're pretty funny guys, so it's entertaining. So once you click on a podcast that you're interested in, you can see it says following here.
Mhm.
I've already subscribed to it. If I hadn't, I think it'll say subscribe.
Okay.
If you know you like it, you want to hear more, you can hit subscribe. And then it'll list all the different episodes. And you can see that I've listened to pretty much all of these. But it'll also show you, if you've listened to just part of it, it'll show you how much you've listened to and how much is left.
Here it says trailer to the right on my screen. It's to the right. Trailer, launch trailer. It's a 2-minute. You can listen to that.
There you go. You just discovered that. So did I. Launch trailer. Yeah. So I think that's a quick 2-minute. Yeah, I'm sure that'll just kind of explain. What
Okay, you can decide subscribing.
Yeah. In fact, let's listen to it.
My name is Jason Bateman.
My name is Sean Hayes.
I'm Will Arnett, and I'm an what am I saying?
Oh, no. You're not at a meeting right now.
You're not in a meeting.
You're doing a trailer for a podcast.
Got it? This summer, because it is the summer.
And this is a podcast, not a film, so we don't need like an in-a-world trailer.
Right, we don't have to be like, this summer, our new podcast drops, I guess. Would it be drop?
That's too hip.
Yeah, it's too hip.
I think that how the show came about was Jason and I were hanging out, and Jason said, "Hey, what about doing a podcast?"
No, Will said he was going to do a podcast, and I
There we
said,
go.
I think I may have schnorred in on that. And Sean was like, "Ooh, I want to too."
Oh,
so
okay.
then I
That's not how
said,
I
then
heard
I
it, but
called
that's
Will and I said, "Will, heads up, Sean, I think wants to get in on the podcast that I kind of got in on, and so now it's kind of a 3-headed beast. Are you down with that? If you're not, get ready for an excuse because Sean's probably going to call you."
Right. And I can't think of two people that I'd rather do a podcast with right now. I can't think of it.
Right, but just give you a second, right?
Just give me.
So it's called Smartless.
As in less smart.
We're going to have a guest per episode, and each one of us sort of alternates on picking that guest, but we don't tell the other two Smartless dudes who the guest is, right?
You ready for this? That's a classic Bateman. Here's a quicker way to describe it. Each week, one of us brings a guest that the other two don't know about. Wow. He says 1,000 words when he could say one.
That makes you smarter and me smart less.
I'm smartless too. I mean, there's so many.
No, we know.
I know you know. I'm making sure the audience knows how dumb I am.
There. So now you know a little bit about that podcast. And you'll notice down at the bottom, it's kind of covered up by my Zoom buttons, but it'll show you which podcast you're playing, and there should be a play button and a pause button. You can also skip forward in 15-minute increments or skip backwards in 15-minute increments. So those playback options will be there. I'm gonna check the chat. Yes, feel free to ask questions. In fact, now is a good time to ask questions. So does anyone have questions at this point?
Yeah, I have Spotify. I signed up for it. I have it on my phone. I got it right now, but I don't see some of the things that you like, the home, the search, any of that. So when I first go into it, it says microphone, Siri and search, notifications, background app, cellular data.
I don't think you're in the Spotify app then.
Okay. Above that, it says allow Spotify to access.
If you go to where your apps are displayed and click on Spotify, it should open it up.
Does it cost money to join a service like Spotify or one of the others that you mentioned?
Yeah, good question. Most of them are free, but you have the option to upgrade. For instance, on Spotify, it says upgrade to premium. I never have, Basically, what you get with the premium is less ads or no ads. But with podcasts, that's not as big of a deal because podcasts usually have ads built into them, and the podcast host will actually read the ads. And there's no way of avoiding those. You could skip through them if you wanted by just, fast forwarding the 15-minute increments. But that's what premium does, is it'll get rid of the ads in between podcasts or in between songs. If you use Spotify to listen to music a lot, upgrading to premium might be a good idea, because they'll throw in ads between, every 2 or 3 songs, there'll be a 30-second ad, and that gets kind of annoying if you just want to keep listening to music. So most of them are free. Some of them, there is a fee. It's usually pretty small. I think some of them have, a one-time fee of $5 or something. But most of them are free with an option to upgrade to get rid of some ads. But like I said, podcasts already have ads built into them. So it's really not necessary. There are some podcasts that don't have ads, and that's those ones you'll have to actually pay for a subscription to that podcast. There's one podcast that I listen to called Making Sense with Sam Harris. And you can get part of the episode on Spotify, but to listen to the full episodes, you have to subscribe with Sam Harris. But that's pretty rare. Most of them are free.
So when you have, how do you get out of it? And you've listened to the pod, they've come to the end, then what do you do? Do you just X out and go out?
Yeah, you can just close the app or, go back to your home screen. It might play another episode as soon as one finishes. And I think that's a setting that you can adjust. I actually don't know much about that though.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So let's see. I have some podcasts here that I've written down that are recommendations if you want to get a start. And let me share this document with everyone. I'll share it in the chat. I'm going to stop my sharing real quick. Okay. Okay, so in the chat box, I sent the PDF document of the document that we were just looking at. So if you want to, you can click to open that, and you can have that just for your reference. And I will go back to my screen share. Okay. So I wrote down some recommended podcasts if you want to take a note of that. But just keep in mind, there's so many podcasts. And you can search by category like we did before. You can also just Google recommendations, top podcasts or most recommended podcasts, or if you're interested in a certain topic like best storytelling podcasts or best news podcasts or whatever it is that you're interested in. A lot of podcasts have a format where they will interview different people. Another format is more of a news, and those tend to be shorter, daily news updates. And then some are more in depth. where they really go into a story and it's more kind of like reporting. For some reason, true crime stories, true crime podcasts are really popular. I personally don't listen to them, but there's one here called Serial that's a really popular one. This American Life is from NPR. You can also search, if you're interested in NPR programs, you can search NPR within your app. So for instance, search NPR and it'll come up with results, artists, albums, playlists, podcasts. So NPR has quite a few different podcasts.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is this when it says scripting, something scripting, it interrupts? Is it a podcast that I thought that I can't figure out one? The scripting, it interrupts my email and it says you can debug script or does that ring a bell to you?
It doesn't. Okay. No, I'm not sure. But that does remind me that once we open, we have a program called Tech Help. So if you're a member of the Senior Center, you can sign up for Tech Help appointments. They occur on Friday afternoons from 1 to 3. We're going to start that on July 16th. So as a member, that's another benefit that you get where you can meet with a volunteer in person. You can bring your device. So if you're having any troubles, you can work on it one-on-one with the volunteer.
Great.
Another podcast that I really enjoy is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Conan O'Brien, the talk show host and comedian, he's just really hilarious, and he invites guests to his show, and that comes out once a week, actually twice a week now. One with a celebrity, and then one with just a fan. Listeners can apply to talk with Conan O'Brien, and he talks with some of his fans, which is pretty fun. I mentioned The Daily from New York Times is a good news story. Circle Around is one that I listen to with my son, who's 8. So it's children's stories, but those can be good if you have, grandkids or any children in your life that you can listen to stories with. There's some good, very imaginative stories. And then I mentioned Making Sense with Sam Harris. He interviews people on his podcast, and
you mentioned how to access this, then you mentioned Spotify and others. Now, I get the New York Times on my phone, and I noticed there's podcasts, but I've never clicked on them. Can you go directly like that?
Or like from the New York Times website?
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. And I think NPR also has that feature. If you go to their website, you can listen to their podcasts from the website. Yeah. And if you want to listen on your computer, you can do it just like I'm doing here with the Spotify. It's not an app, it's actually just the website, but it acts very similar to the app. So you can listen on your computer or your phone or your tablet, any device. I got an email from someone who was having trouble downloading podcasts to their iPod. And I think the trouble there was it was an older version of an iPod. But I don't think that will be a problem for most people. And does anyone else have any questions? Well, thank you all for joining. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions. If you reply to our weekly email, that goes to me. So feel free to send me an email, or you can call the Senior Center. We're all back here working, preparing to open up in July.
Great. We look forward to that.
Yes, great.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
That was great.